What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Commission Keeper podcast. I am your host, Cameron Hodge, real estate agent licensed in California and Florida with partners in many other states besides that. But more importantly, I'm also an accountant firm owner focusing on tax preparation and bookkeeping for real estate agents specifically. Now, this is the first podcast episode I'm releasing. I have started to release an email newsletter. Shout out if you want to subscribe to that. Go ahead and hit in the show notes below. But this podcast is down and dirty. I've been doing YouTube videos and podcasts for many years, but my intention with this one is to simply go deeper into what I'm already writing online and my newsletter, is to kind of go off script a little bit and just to share maybe more in-depth insights. So that's what I'm going to do. Full disclaimer, everything you hear on this podcast, you need to go seek your own professional. Your own situation will be different. Financial advice, attorney advice, legal advice, none of that on here is actual advice for you. This is simply just stuff that I hear, knowledge, tips, tricks, things that you can use in your life. Most everything you're going to hear on this podcast, you're going to have to, of course, seek your own professionals. Get your own help for your specific situation. Make sure it's someone you trust, and on certain topics, especially when it comes to investing, that they are an actual financial advisor, even more importantly, one that is actually not tied to a company that's just going to feed you their products. But enough of that. So this week, what are we talking about? It's a basic concept I like to call jack of all trades, master of wealth. One of the biggest issues in the real estate industry that I noticed getting into the industry, and well, I did it myself, is agents are so big on getting leads, right? We have a huge dropout rate in the industry. We all are familiar with it. Well, what do you do once you get a thriving business? You're not a capping agent, you're beyond that. Or maybe you just hit there and you're about to hit that next level. Or maybe you're running a team like I have and do with 1, 2, 5 or more agents underneath it, right? Maybe you're a mega team. I don't know. But what do you do with your commission after the fact? A lot of agents don't do a very good job when it comes to managing their commission, right? Now, you may have a profitable business. My issue is it's only when I see the top 1% teams, maybe the top 5% of real estate teams in the industry, have I found those who actually run their teams or their business like an actual business, right? I mean, how many real estate agents do you know that they know where their leads come from? They can tell you how many they're converting, right? But if they looked all across their lead sources, what if some, even though they close more leads from, say, Zillow, what if YouTube leads give a way higher ROI because they're tracking their finances, they're doing their bookkeeping? And that's a huge problem I see in our industry, is not enough agents actually managing their commission and making plans for what to do with that commission once they have it, right? How to pay themselves, how much is staying in the business, how much are they paying themselves, how much is getting set aside for taxes, do they make enough to start maybe having a solo 401k, maybe they need to put money into a Roth IRA. Even if you're starting from nothing, creating these systems in the beginning is so important. I mean, I've made over 100 grand. I remember the first time I made it was 106,000 was the first time I broke a net income for the year of 106,000. I'm sorry, that was gross. See, I'm already getting tongue-tied here. But that was a gross income. But I broke 6 figures in gross income. But at the end of the year, I had like nothing to show for it. I had done so many stupid lead things. I hired one too many virtual assistants. Like, I overdid myself compared to what I should have been doing, which is acting like a chief financial advisor, right? As agents, we're so good at doing everything. Sometimes you kind of need to stay, once you get to a certain level, you need to lean on other professionals to assist you, right? Even some of the top agents I've met right now, I'd be in San Diego at the time of recording this podcast, or if I go to Orlando, Florida, my other home of the year, in either location, the top teams always have bookkeepers. They always have, financial planners. They have all these professionals, right? CPAs, EAs, right? Licensed tax professionals, or some of them come to my firm, right? Just for even basic tax preparation and advising throughout the year. That is where real professionals take hold. And I promise you, there is a certain point where it doesn't matter, right? Those professionals aren't going to help you. But there is a point when you really need to start leaning into those and doing it. So being a CFO of your business, what does it mean? I think everyone should do this. As agents, we all look back at our business, right? I think most of us, if you're capping or greater, you, at least at the end of the year, maybe every quarter or every month, if you're really freaking crushing it, right? I like to do it probably every month if I can, at least every quarter. Is you look back, we look at, how much money do we make? How much money do we spend? How are we doing? And that's it. my question for you is, of that total income, where did it go? Not only how much did you make, what did you spend it on? What were your expenses? Where did it go? Is there something you're wasting money on? How much did you set aside for taxes? Did you set any aside for taxes? Right? No one likes to have a surprise tax bill at the end of the year. Now, most of us in this level, you're probably past the initial shock factor of having to pay a high self-employment tax. But the thing that goes into this is, do you have the right business entity? Now, I'm not going to tell you on this podcast what your business entity should be. I can tell you, like in California, I had to run a C Corp and then elect it as an S Corp, right? In Florida, I could have an LLC. And then once I made enough that it made sense, I could elect that as an S Corp. And that's the situation, right? Depending on your state and your situation, whatever the rules are for your specific situation, what benefits you most, do you have the right structure in place that you're actually not having to pay higher taxes than you should be paying? Look, death taxes, can't avoid them. I am a huge advocate for you only pay what you owe, your fair share. No more than that. No one needs to give the government a free loan, right? With no interest. Also, things to look out to when you do that, right, is did you have to put any of your own money into your business? I know I have, right? Summertime, things are crushing. Well, when wintertime comes, are you having to put money back into your business? Did you take too much out, right? Are you accounting for that? Because that should go on your P&L statement, your profit and loss statement. Are you tracking for those dips? Are you planning for those dips? Okay. And my favorite thing, especially using one of the best tools, like there's a lot of other ones like Wave Accounting, and I get no money from these things, but maybe one day, right? Maybe I'll get fancy. But Wave Accounting is a free one you can use if you're maybe an individual solo agent just getting started. But for those of you who are at least higher producing agents or greater, QuickBooks, look, man, I've tried to avoid so many, fees and stuff like that. But like the reality is, QuickBooks is just a beast, and there's so many videos online to teach you how to use it. Heck, we have monthly bookkeeping and awesome services where we include tax work for those real estate agents and brokers that want us to do it for them. But like I'm telling you, QuickBooks is the way to go. It is the complete way to go. But one of the cool things you can do is when you get commission checks and you're tracking them inside QuickBooks, you can create the statements to benefit your business, right? So when you get that commission check, where did that lead come from? Right? How much? Then you can look back. How much did you spend to get that lead? Now, most CRMs can track most of that data for you, and you might have to do the math yourself. But every commission check you get, you should have a tag on it, right? You can track individual transactions to see what money went to them, right? Where did that lead come from? Because what's funny is it's not always about volume. What if you're getting a lower volume from another lead source compared to another one? But that smaller volume of lead source is twice as much commission as you're getting paid from your other one. Prime example, okay? I have been generating YouTube leads since 2022 is when I first got started. And it accelerated, especially in 23 into 24. Now, obviously, rates went up. I took a hit like anyone else when it came to relocation, which is like the heavy clients I had moving to Florida. But I'm telling you, even though I was paying for leads in other sources like running Facebook leads and I could generate good volume, I was lucky enough at that point where I realized even though my volume was lower on YouTube and SOI, I was making way more commission from those leads. So it didn't make sense for me to pay for leads. I needed to double down in the buckets I was good at. Okay. So that's one of the cool things that you need to be tracking every month. It's not only like, did I make money and did I lose money? Is where did it go? Get obsessed with your numbers. Know your business. Anyone should be able to stop you and be able to say, hey, what is this data on your business? And you can give it to them, right? It's not only how many deals did you do? Because I'm telling you, I have met agents. I'll never forget when I had a mobile notary business. That's what I first did when I left the Marine Corps in 2018. And one of my first appointments was a husband and wife in San Diego, both top 10% real estate agents, and they were having to refinance and do a mortgage adjustment on their home because they over leveraged themselves and were wasting all their money. Now, can I give you the details? No, I legally can't, unfortunately, because, that's against the law. But I can tell you about the situation, what happened, and that's what happened. They overspent their money, they didn't track it, and they kept up with the Joneses, right? In this business, as we all know, you go through high highs and low lows. And the trick is how do you maintain it? Now, sure, you can say, Cameron, well, obviously you dipped out and you were running an accounting firm. Yeah, you know what? Because I love what I ended up doing was being, running with a partner of mine out of Jacksonville. That guy could find real estate clients by just farting in the wind. I'm telling you. Now, sorry to be a little vulgar here, but that's the truth. And while I have great connections, I love working with investors. So that's where I have mainly shifted to is, well, helping real estate agents like yourselves. Because why? Well, to be honest with you, I love accounting. I love numbers. And this is where my main path is going to lead me, is having agents join me, having people use my firm. But knowing your numbers and finding what you're good at and what you're bad at kind of plays into this, right? Be the CFO for your business, right? Know your numbers. Where does it go, right? Also, hey, how much money are you keeping for yourself? Is lifestyle creep coming in? I've done that, right? We all got to look at ourselves and be honest. Now, this leads into the next thing, right? Which is, how do you break the commission roller coaster? Now, most of you might already know this. I'm not trying to go super in depth. In the coming weeks and every single week, I'm trying to keep this under 30 minutes, right? Just a short little snippet. You can always reach out to me. Like, I'm an open book. If you were able to find me and catch me, like, I'll talk for all day on this stuff. I could hype on it forever. But this snippet is, how do you break this roller coaster, right? Like, how in a business that has high highs and low lows, how do you find a middle ground? Well, I'll tell you, and I get nothing for this. This is just one of the coolest things I found. If you haven't heard of it, I recommend you get the book, look it into it online. It's called the Profit First Method. Now, there are spin-offs like Profit First for real estate agents, Profit First for investors, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of different spin-offs. Just look up Profit First. It is a simple small business allocation strategy for income using multiple accounts and having a specific percentage distribution plan. So if you get $100, 30's going here, 20's going here, 10's going here, right? Your business is going to dictate what those numbers are going to be. Now, I'll give you a prime example of how it stopped me bleeding my business. So all my commission checks, now I use Relay Bank for this. It's only because they were kind of founded. They are FDIC insured. It's an online bank. So if your state runs a lot of straight checks, you're not getting direct deposits from your broker, or maybe if you are a broker, you're just running checks, this might not be the fit. So for those that are getting direct deposits, ACH, stuff like that, 1,000%, this is a good bank. I've been using them for multiple businesses now. But Relay Bank allows me to create like up to 10 checking accounts, I think, and like 5 savings accounts, something like that, right? There's a paid plan, but it's free, but you can get more accounts than that. But essentially, Profit First is this, and this is how I use it for me. Money comes in, okay? Full commission check goes into my income account. Of that, I set aside 30% for expenses. Now, it fluctuates. Right now, I don't have any virtual assistants on my team. We let some go. We're making some changes. All good, okay? Usually that can be a little bit higher. It can be as high as 35, 40%. I usually try not to go over 40, depending on my income, and that might be if we're buying leads. Remember, I get a lot of my stuff from social media and sphere of influence, so the money kind of is pretty stable on that. But 30% for expenses. Of that, I try and pay myself 30%. Now, there are periods where I will reduce this, right? And maybe have to put more in my business, maybe the winter. The goal is to whatever that owner's salary amount is enough for me to live every single month. Now, not getting in the weeds, obviously, I have an S-Corp, so I have to pay myself a salary. Fun fact, if you're listening to this and some accountant or some tax person somewhere told you to set up, like it did to me when I got started in the business, a company, nothing wrong with that, okay? But if you have an S-Corp, you need to be paying payroll. You are an employee of the business. You must be on payroll. You must be paying payroll taxes, not only personally, but also from a professional side, right? Trust me, it can get complicated. So I recommend just look. There's tons of payroll services out there. Just use one. Don't try and do the math yourself. You're going to fuck it up. I'm just being honest with you. Now, you want to make sure that you're paying yourself just enough every single month, right? You're not trying to take all your money this way. It's just what do you need to survive, okay? And then of that, right now I have 30% of taxes. Again, with an S-Corp, you have high payroll taxes. I always have that account be a little bit heftier. I would rather have enough in that account. At the end of the year, if I'm doing okay and I'm ready for the next year, hey, congratulations, that money can go into the next one, which is the profit account. Now, this is the cool one, right? You're like, Cameron, what's a profit account? Now, I only do 10% currently because I have more going to owner's salary. I probably at times, and I have probably in the near future, I shift more money into the profit account. What this is every single quarter, you had a good quarter, congratulations. Take half of the money in that account, give yourself a distribution, right? Pay yourself a salary. Now, those of you with S-Corp will know, right? You're not going to pay as high of taxes with distributions, okay? You're paying payroll taxes on that salary. So, this is a cool way to cut taxes and pay yourself once a quarter. Now, You need to have a reasonable salary. Don't know what your situation is. Can't give you advice on this podcast. You have to schedule a meeting for that. But, right, that's a cool way. What I recommend, right, and this is bleeding into, right, is once you have the basic system in place of managing your money, putting guardrails so you don't overspend, is you go into what do you do now that the system's in place? You're tracking your money properly. You know your numbers, like details. Like I'm telling you, the deeper details you can have in QuickBooks and your CRM, the better. You have your profit system in place. You're tracking what commission goes where. Now, the money you pay yourself, what do? This is where you get to get cool. This is where you get to do real amazing stuff. And the cool stuff you can do is, man, it really depends on your personal situation. But I'm going to do just a really brief overview. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. Look, I'm working towards getting my license for EA and CPA, but I'm going to give you an overview of just some ideas. Just do your own research and find someone that you trust. Okay. Now, even when you have your plan, right, what you can do afterwards is, depending on how much money you're making, okay, you at least need to have basic things. As self-employed, we have so many awesome options. And here's what I recommend you look into. Look into a Roth IRA, okay? I can't believe I wasn't. Look, a lot of brokerages nowadays, and like I'm with LPT, like I get a stock plan or they're about to have a stock at the end of the year, okay? You get a portion of their stock. Congratulations, that's awesome. It's not enough, okay? You should have your own retirement plan. Now, I love investing. I love buying homes. Okay, so that's a huge bucket for me, right? A percentage of that income, I'll pay, taxes on it, but I'll immediately put it into, my investment company. I want to buy more homes. I want, long-term wealth, and it may take another 10 years, but I will get there. But at the same time, how do you beat some tax systems? How do you beat some of those payroll taxes you're having to pay? Okay, start looking into Roth IRAs, right? Solo Roth IRA, right? Things that you can set up. Again, there are so many vehicles out there. I'm not a financial planner. Look, this is stuff that I wish I knew. I understand. Okay. Like you have 401ks. You can have a solo 401k, right? Do you know that you can buy homes under a 401k with the right structure, the right setup, the right way? Now, there are legalities to that. Do your research. I'm not trying to explain to you how to do it, but you can get retirement accounts. Not only buy stocks with it, you can buy investment properties. You can buy other businesses as investments, okay? Sure, is that not active income to you? No! It's a 401k, dang it. I don't need to go in depth enough to understand that, hey, you're not paying taxes on that money, okay? The cool thing is, not only can you cut the taxes on the money that you are paying yourself, right? This is assuming you probably got an S Corp, you're on payroll. Not only can you avoid some of the taxes you're paying yourself, you can also do a company distribution from your own company that you own, right? How freaking cool is that? And put that toward your expenses. So like I'm telling you, there are so many ways that you can start building the right plan, start building the right thing to where you built the system, you built the behemoth. Keep more of your freaking money. I mean, I can't believe the amount of money I wasted, even in taxes, especially when I started to make decent income, because I didn't have the right plan in place. I let people kind of give me ideas and systems that didn't make sense. I mean, I had an S Corp as soon as I started the business because believe it or not, he was a CPA, right? Just because they're licensed doesn't mean they're giving you the best advice, right? This goes for anything, okay? Heck, you could look at me and be like, Cameron, you're full of crap. That's fine. Just do your research. Take at least one piece of information that sparks your thought and go find it. Go figure it out, okay? If you're a team leader, you absolutely should be helping your agents save money. Because the reality is, if you have a good agent, if they end up being broke because of their own falling shorts, then you need to help them. You need to guide them, okay? But really using those retirement plans, using those systems in place to build wealth afterwards, right? We work as agents hard enough to get the commission. We deserve, right? And look, I'm a follower of Christ. I think we should all donate money. I've been in tough places, low places. I've been, 80,000 in debt. And I can tell you, right, if you're in that place, hey, you got to work out of it. But the cool thing is when we manage our money properly, we can start putting even a portion of it, not only to building our own wealth, but to helping those in need, helping someone else, right? I know every big brokerage out there has a fund or charity that you can give to. I'll never forget, even though I'm not at EXP anymore. When I was at EXP in Florida, we had a major hurricane come through, and they were, some people got donations from that EXP charity. I forgot the name of it, but they have a charity. And that's awesome, right? You could be doing things. Sure, there's a way to save on taxes because you're donating to a charity and blah, 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 but it doesn't matter, right? It's the act of being, even if you had to pay taxes, who gives a crap? I'll tell you this much. Look, I've been in the military. I love this country, but, the government doesn't need more of your money. Not more than at least your fair share. You deserve to make sure you have the right plan to keep as much money in your pocket so you can do good with it. And that's really where this all starts, is creating the right plans. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm really holding back trying to go down the rabbit hole, but essentially is this that I want to leave you with this week as I sign off, is understand that you fought for your commission. Make sure you're tracking your numbers more than the average person thinks you should. I'm telling you, you need to get scientific, like physicists with this. Once that plan's in place and you're still being able to survive, look, don't just put money back into your business. Well, hey, I love my businesses too. You got to put money into it. You got to grow them. But don't forget, you also should be putting a portion aside to save a little bit on taxes, but doing so in a way that grows wealth for your family. So that way you can do more for this world and you can give back more. Again, hey, if you're finding me on a podcast platform and you're not already subscribed to the newsletter, go ahead and head to Substack. It's called the Commission Keeper Newsletter. You can sign up. I'll try and add a link down in the show notes. Look, guys, I'm going to do raw podcasts. I've done the over editing. I've done the simple stuff. I don't even have a YouTube right now because I've just got a lot of stuff going on in my life, but I want to make sure I could supplement my newsletters, that writing, with audio input where I can kind of go a little bit deeper and maybe go on a little bit of a tangent. So again, if you want to connect with my firm, you want to get someone to help you with bookkeeping, but also get your taxes included, I'm telling you, I've tailored everything for real estate agents. At the very least, if you find me somewhere else and you want to talk about stuff, dude, I am an open book. I promise you. I don't need to get paid for everything. My goal, again, is to slowly work at it and make this podcast and that online newsletter something that can give real value back to our community, not about how to make commission, but how to keep it, how to build it once you get it. All right, guys. This is Cameron signing off.